Russia's parliament has signed off on an overhaul of the country's conscription law. The legislation makes it harder to dodge a military call-up, and it allows draft orders to be delivered by email. Ukraine is expected to launch a spring counteroffensive against Russian forces, and there is speculation that Moscow is planning a second wave of troop mobilizations.
It happened very quickly. Both chambers of Russia's parliament fast-tracked changes to the conscription law that has already been on the table for 5 years. Now, anyone who does not report to the military after receiving a draft notice will no longer be allowed to leave Russia.
Those who repeatedly do not report for duty can have their driver's license revoked, their right to engage in real estate deals revoked, and may neither register a business nor borrow money.
But the most important new feature is that draft notices must no longer be served in person to be valid, as was earlier the case. Other delivery methods are now permitted, such as by registered mail or electronically via the General Civil Register with which most Russians have an account. As a result, it's no longer possible to ignore a draft notice. These changes mainly affect compulsory military service, but it doesn't rule out expanding it to those who might be mobilized in the future. Some members of parliament say this is not a new wave of mobilization. But President Vladimir Putin has not signed a law ending last year's partial mobilization. Formal mobilizations could happen again at any time. Human rights activists believe that the amended law aims to augment Russia's professional army. According to media reports, the Defense Ministry plans to recruit up to 400,000 young men as professional soldiers.
The Defense Ministry doesn't seem to be planning a new active mobilization. Instead, it wants to recruit more citizens as professional soldiers. That is, the men drafted to compulsory military service are probably the targeted individuals. It's most likely that there will be more cases in which draftees will be forced to sign contracts with the army.
One more new feature, a standardized conscripts register with personal data on draftees' health, education status, and possibly dual citizenship status. Russian members of parliament maintain that all of these changes would not apply to the current conscription wave, which ends in mid-July.
DW's Yuri Rushetto has been working in Riga since Russia shut down our Moscow bureau. He explains how the new law fits into Moscow's wider war effort.
Well, look, after a year when Russia is preparing the whole of society for the long war, the army ultimately needs more soldiers. Apparently, many conscripts will later be offered contracts with the regular professional army in order to increase the number of soldiers at the front. The Kremlin said that any conscript could sign such a contract, and the Russian Minister of Defense proposed, reportedly, to allow conscripts to participate in so-called peacekeeping missions. Just a reminder, the war in Ukraine is not called a war in Russia, but a special military operation. So from the point of view of Russian propaganda, it's kind of a peacekeeping mission. At least that's what the Russian media tell the people every day.